Hello and welcome to the David Carrier Show. I'm David Carrier, your family's personal attorney, and you have found the place where we talk about estate planning, elder law, real estate, and business law. So if you have a question, comment, or concern, so we're open. Questions, comments, and concerns about wills, trusts, or probate, be that estate planning stuff. If you're wondering, how do we beat the high cost of long-term care? How do we avoid going broke? And now apparently it's well, I'll get to it, but I just reading a magazine article about how now it's a hidden epidemic among the young that they have to care for older people. Well, I mean, I think that epidemic's been going on for millennia, but anyway, now we're concerned about it, I guess. Anyway, that would be that elder law stuff. The Department of Health and Human Services, your federal tax dollars at work. According to them, when you're 65 years old, you have a 70% chance, 70% chance of needing an average of 3 years of skilled care. 3 years, okay? Now, that's not 3 years in a nursing home, not saying that it is, but it is 3 years of care. And sometimes that could be your kids, could be your friends, relations, whoever, assisted living, whatever. Question is, how are you going to pay for that? Because let's face it, you didn't have as many kids as your folks did, and you don't have as many kids hanging around willing to help out. That's the deal. So how are we going to adjust for that? How are we going to, take care of that? The answer is paid care. But guess what? Neither was anybody else having those kids. And so now there's fewer of them than ever, to make sure that there's care available. Well, you know what happens when supply goes down and demand goes up? There's no surprise on that one. You've seen it at the gas pump. Prices go up. So that's the question, really. How do we pay for the high cost of long-term care? Now, here's the deal. If you do things like everybody else, you get the same results as everybody else, and we'll be talking about that in just a minute. We also deal with real estate and business law. So if you're looking to stop a business, get that business humming like a top, right? Now's the time to give us a call, 616-774-2424. That's area code 616-774-2424. Yes, we're not doing the 800 number anymore, but that's because everybody's got those precious little cell phones there, and there is no such thing as long distance anymore. So give us a call. Come on, 616-774-2424. I was listening to a fellow talk the other day, and kind of put it very well, I thought, in a little bit different context. But the idea was, what's the difference between folks who succeed and folks who don't? Okay, what's the difference between you and the people who are your age, who always been complaining, oh, there's more month than money, all the rest of this stuff? Okay, the people whose houses are in disrepair, the folks who, sort of hard luck stories. Now, I'm not saying there isn't hard luck out there. There's hard luck out there, that's for sure. But it's not mostly hard luck. I mean, these people, you think about California, right? All these floods out there. You know what I'm thinking? I'm thinking all those people who've been living in tents, where are they going? What's happening to their tents? Is it all getting swept out to the Pacific? What a mess. Can you imagine the San Francisco Bay Area full of floating around tents, and what a mess. Anyway, point is that the people who, like you, the people who are doing well, okay, the people with life savings still at your age, right? Those folks are doing things differently. And the question is really, what is it they're doing differently? What are you doing differently? There's sort of an answer for that. The one answer is you're doing the sorts of things that other people are not willing to do. You know what I mean? Is it annoying of a Sunday morning to go to church? We can admit it. It is sometimes. It's like I would just soon have another cup of coffee and not worry about it. Well, but you do, okay? Or who wants to sweep the kitchen floor every night? Who wants to sweep? Well, get a robot to do it, I guess, right? But you do that. The point is that you've been willing throughout your lifetime to do the boring things, right? See, being a success, as you have been, is not really any mystery. All you have to do is be willing to do the things that people who are not successful are not willing to do. Seems kind of obvious, doesn't it? I mean, like I say, this is not unique. I didn't come up with this. I wish I could say, ooh, in my 33 years of practice, my observation of people is that. I wish I could say that. I can't. We stand on the shoulders of giants, right? Isn't that the way? So, we just take the advice that other folks give, and when you see a good one, pass it along. That's my thing. I'm a clearinghouse. I'm a traffic cop for good advice. But isn't it true, right? Think about it. What is it that distinguishes you from the people who are too bad, so sad? Mostly, not 100%. Yes, God smiled on you, and and all the yeah, that's I take that as a given. I take that as, yeah, that's the way the world works. I mean, you've got to be grateful to the Creator for all the blessings that you've received. That's right. That's right. Not arguing. Okay, I'm not arguing that. But you have to be blind not to see that you actually did things differently. You were willing to do the boring things. You were willing to do the things that weren't cool. You were willing to do the things that were difficult. All right? Can't deny it. Just open your eyes, you'll see it. Now, the question is, what are those things, right? And what are the things going forward from where you are right now? We know how you got here. We already know that. The question is, what are the things going forward that are going to keep you where you are? What are the things going forward that are going to make it possible for you to continue to be successful? They're not the things that got you here. That's another thing I keep hearing. The things that got you here will not get you there. Okay, well, fair enough, right? I mean, when when you were younger, there was other stuff. There was other stuff that you were doing. Am I right? You were having kids, and you were looking for jobs, and you were saving for a house. Well, we're past that now, right? So the things that made you a success so far are not the things that are going to ensure success for the rest of your life. That doesn't work that way. Was it Timothy who said, when I was a child, I acted like a child. I did all the childish things. When I was a young person, I did the young things, right? And now that I'm older and I'm smarter, I don't do the foolish things anymore. I do other stuff. All right, that's kind of the point. As you get older, there are things that become different. That's just the way it is. But if you give us a call at 616-774-2424, it's area code 616-774-2424. Anything specifically, that'd be great. We can help out with what are those things that need to be done? What are those things that are different now? What are those things that will continue to ensure that you are successful going forward as you have been so far? That's what it's all about. I'm David Carrier, your family's personal attorney. And now's the time. Give us a shout, 616-774-2424. I want to remind you, we are doing the life plan workshops. Really bounce back on those. Very grateful for all the folks who have been coming out. I think I don't know. Was it when Joe Biden said that the pandemic is over and people finally believed it? Whatever. But we are doing the oatmeal raisin cookies and the whole 9 yards. We're back to full houses. So don't be shy. Come on down. As I say, you're listening to the David Carrier Show. I'm David Carrier, your family's personal attorney, and looking forward to speaking with you. Like we're saying, 616-774-2424. That's the number to call. If you have a question, comment, or concern. We're in San Antonio, Texas, if you can believe that. That's what all the mission bells, you know, because this is where the Alamo was. Alamo was a mission. Anyway, you know, where everybody died. Davy Crockett, Jim Bowie, you know, the rest of those guys. Anyway, yeah, so that's the mission bells. Anyway, that's the background here. So, you know, talking about doing things differently. See, if you did things the way everybody does things, right? Let me just ask yourself, you know, think about what you did at work. Were you doing things the way everybody did things, right? Because everybody has somebody at the job who does things differently, mostly slacking off, mostly not showing up on time, mostly not following through, right? And you wonder, how does that guy still have a job? Well, who knows? Now, of course, that's never been you. That's not your thing. You've always been the kind of person who did extra. Got it. So you did things differently than, let's call them lazy people did. This is the way it is. I mean, most people, right? One foot in front of the other. And they don't do the boring things. They aren't willing to do what you did, you know, to pay off the mortgage, to stay in a marriage, to raise your kids, to go to church, to all those things that you did that made you a success are things that people aren't willing to do. You say, well, I can see where David's going with this one, right? Well, where I'm going with this one is most people haven't planned their estates either, right? Most people just think they're going to live until the music stops, right? And that's the end of it. It's not the case. It's not the case, right? I mean, things work out because you make them work out. And they work out not because, you know, a lightning bolt appeared. I mean, it worked for Saul of Tarsus, right? I mean, St. Paul fell off his horse, he got the lightning bolt. Well, most of us don't get a lightning bolt, okay? That doesn't happen. I mean, most of us, the way we do it is we, you know, we wake up early and we grind it out. And then tomorrow we do the same thing over and we do the same thing over. And most people, as you know, from observation, most people are not willing to do that. You got to do the boring stuff. It's the boring stuff that makes everything else possible. Okay, why is it that engineers are the only ones who fund? You've heard me say this before. You know, when it comes to actually following through to make a trust-based estate plan work, and most fail, 96% according to one survey. Nobody thinks it's more than, you know, 15 or 20%. Nobody. You know, and in fact, most attorneys recognize that you're not going to avoid probate with your trust anyway, and they blame you for it. That's the thing that gripes me. Then they blame you and they say, well, it's your fault because you didn't put the stuff in the trust. Yeah, well, you know, that's ridiculous. You know, people aren't going to do something, and you know they're not going to, and you make money when they don't do it, then it's pretty disingenuous. In other words, it's a lie, it's a scam, it's BS, you know, when you pretend that you think they're going to, because you know they're not. You know that. And you're making money on them not doing what you told them to do, but you told them to do it knowing that they weren't going to do it. And then you blame them. They blame you. That's what I'm saying. Okay, so, but engineers are different. Okay, engineers actually follow through and get this stuff done. Now, why is that? I think it has to do with the engineer's tolerance, the engineer's recognition that it's only by doing the really boring stuff. You know, it's only by testing the concrete over and over and over again. It's only by, you know, doing the preventive maintenance. It's only by going back to the back of the book and understanding how things actually work. I think engineers, see, most of us live in a world of forgiveness, where if something's late or whatever, well, you know, we can make it work. You know what I'm saying? You can get forgiveness. An engineer does not live in that world. Engineers live in the world of physical reality, to the extent we can figure out what that is. They live in a world where If it's not done correctly, right, then the bridge falls down and people die. If it's not done correctly, then the integrated circuits don't work. If it's not done correctly, right, then the medicine turns to poison. I mean, engineers have to get it right more than the rest of us do. And as a consequence of that, they're used to doing the hard stuff. They're used to doing the boring things, right? And that's what's necessary in order to make your success, your estate plan, trust-based estate plan, a success. That's one way, but nobody goes that way. I mean, the attorneys don't, very few people do it because very few people are actually engineers, and we're not going to turn you into an engineer at your age. You're not gonna, it's not gonna work. So that's why what we do, at our place, that's why we do it for you, because we know that if we left you to your own, if we did what everybody else, see, this is the point. If you do what everybody else does, you get the results that everybody else gets. Surprises there? If most estate plans fail, unless you're an engineer, so will yours. Unless it was done differently. Unless it was done in such a way that you couldn't fail. And the reason you couldn't fail was because we anticipated all the failure modes. How is it that estate plans don't work? How is it that well, they're aimed at the wrong thing. Number one, it's all about getting rid of property after you're dead. Listen, there's people buried in the Irish bogs, okay, who had some stuff. They know what to do. We know what to do with stuff, right? Thousands of years ago, they had some stuff. Most of it isn't buried in the bog with them. Some of it is, but somebody else got their stuff. I mean, that's been going on forever. As long as human beings have had stuff worth having, we figured out what to do with it after you were dead. No big surprise. But the bog people, or the, prior generations, they didn't live as long as you did, and they didn't live as expensively as you will. All right. When we get back from the break, I'll let there's a couple of examples I think bring it home. Think about this. Remember, the things that got you here will not get you there, right? Things that got you to this point will not move you forward, because the world changes, your ambitions change, all the rest. You've been listening to the David Carrier Show. I'm David Carrier, your family's personal attorney. And we've got a new study at well, it's not new, 2020, says that more than 1 in 6 Americans is actively responsible for the daily needs and well-being of loved ones. This is what I'm talking about when I say you got to do things differently than other people, unless you want to be dependent on your kids. And I have no problem with you being dependent on your kids. Go right ahead. That's up to you. But that's where it's at. That is what's going to happen. And here's the other thing. There's millions of kids, and of course Generation Z, right? I mean, if something's happening to them, now they got to complain about it more than anybody else. But of the family caregivers, what they're saying is that there's 3 million members of Gen Z who are caring for mom and dad. And look, and let's see, how's it go? Many of whom have not yet or just barely crested into adulthood. What the hell does that mean? Crested into adulthood? I don't know. And their lives are knocked sideways by family members' illness or disability. Study by MetLife found that the average boomer who leaves the workforce early to care for a family member sacrifices around $300,000 in lifetime earnings and retirement benefits. And of course, we're assuming that of course it'll be worse for these Gen Zers. But think about that. Caring for a loved one at home. You think, well, I'm caring for a loved one at home. What does that cost? Well, Metropolitan Life Insurance Company says it costs $300,000 to you. That's what that's going to be the effect on your lifetime earnings and whatnot. Well, that can happen, but it doesn't have to. See, this is what I'm talking about. Do the boring stuff. You get your job, you earn, you help out at the family, all the rest of that. What are some of the things, and you've heard me preach preach about them, God knows for all these years, right? What are some of the things that you can do differently? Boring stuff. I'm not saying it's exciting. I mean, are oatmeal raisin cookies exciting? Well, I think they are, but it's probably a minority view, right? It's coming to a workshop. Is that exciting? Probably not. Again, a minority view. I think so. And we do we do our best to keep it interesting. But still, in all, it's the unusual person, who actually goes through with this. And so, as I said earlier, when I'm listening to this guy talk about, well, what's the difference between people who really make it work and people who don't? And the answer is that the people who make it work are willing to do the things that other people are not willing to do. Kind of simple as that. Are you willing to get up early in the morning? Are you willing to fold your laundry? Are you willing to run the dishwasher? Are you running, there are people you go in their house and the sink is piled with dishes from God knows when. How healthy is that? If you don't do the things your mom told you to do, you're going to wind up, playing stupid games and getting stupid prizes, right? I mean, there's people who don't wash. Wash down the counters and stuff like that. Okay. So you got to do the boring stuff. And estate planning, much as I hate to admit it, it's boring stuff. I mean, look, it's not cheap. Okay. It's just being protective. It's just making sure that if you're one of the 70%, and you will be one of the 70% who needs long-term care, because everybody needs it, you're one of those folks, you're going to be okay. Not exciting. It doesn't come in a shiny red wrapper, whatever. It just is what it is. So that got me, like I said, that got me thinking. So what is it then that you need to do differently? Well, there's the usual boring stuff, that you've always done differently, which is the follow through, which is the make sure that it's like doing your homework. Okay. So like I said, right now I'm in San Antonio, Texas. There's like 600 or 700 attorneys here. Can you imagine that? That's a lot of lawyers. And I don't want to hear that old joke about, what do you call 10,000 lawyers at the bottom of the sea? A good start, right? Well, these are great people. These are wonderful folks. And they're really here. What they're here to do is to learn how to accomplish goals for you. You might say, well, they want to make a living too, which they do. Yes, they have. Yeah, there's no question about that. But at the same time, in order to do that, see, there's two ways of doing this as a lawyer, right? You can do what everybody else does, which, okay, fine. It doesn't work, and listen, this is not limited. You might be thinking, well, yeah, Carrier's just talking about estate planning. It's only in estate planning that lawyers fail their clients. That's not true. That's not true. I mean, think about it. I mean, in what area of law, when do you hear somebody say, oh boy, they just really took care of me. Oh boy, it was so great. You don't hear it because most attorneys are not attuned to it. That's just reality. Okay. I mean, if you have a bad experience at a hotel or something, you don't go back to the hotel, right? There's a very one-to-one relationship there. You understand what's going on, but a lawyer can bullyrag you all over the map. You don't even know. Did they do a good job? Did they do a bad job? How the heck do you know what's going on? And so I happen to be in a group. With this group, I'm not actually part of it, but where the lawyers are all trying to figure out exactly what is it the clients need, and then deliver what they need. It's a very it's fun. I mean, it's kind of fun talking with lawyers who are really thinking as we say, outside of the box, trying to get done for people what people actually need done, as opposed to getting all preoccupied about, oh, I'm a lawyer and therefore you got to do this and that. Which of course is what we're trying to do with the estate planning, right? We're trying to focus on what is it that actual people actually need, as opposed to what has been done, for these many years. So when people say, oh, avoid probate, save taxes, get it to the kids, they think that's a good thing. Well, it's unexamined. Nobody actually put any thought into it. Not for years and years. People just keep repeating the same old thing. Okay. Well, maybe that's not the goal. Maybe avoiding probate, saving taxes, getting it to the kids, which are all things that happen after you're dead. Okay. You're already dead. And now we're going to do this. Yeah. Okay. Kind of interesting, I guess, but kind of low value. But that's not the point, in my opinion, right? That's not the point. The whole point of the planning ahead, for you to plan ahead, is to make sure that your spouse is okay. If you got one, you don't have a spouse, okay, well, I guess we're not worried about the spouse, right? Frequently, I get single people tell me, well, you don't care about single people. Of course I care about single people. Sure I do. But if you're a married person, who do you care about more than yourself? Your kids, yeah, and your spouse. So that's why I say, let's take care of the kids. Let's take care of the spouse first. They come first, right? Take care of your spouse. Take care of you. And this is where single people, don't feel left out. You're not being left out. Okay? I'm worried more about single people, to tell you the truth, simply because fewer options, right? This whole Generation Z thing, where supposedly 3 million of them are coming home and taking care of mom and dad. I am not seeing that. I got to tell you, my opinion, my view, my experience is that sandwich generation is pretty much cooked, pretty much over with. I'm not saying you can't find people doing it, but I don't think you find very many. At least that's my experience. Now, maybe I'm completely wrong about that. Maybe the survey says that the younger generations are doing as much for their parents as we did for our parents, but I don't believe it. That has not been my experience. Anyway, so you do things differently. Take care of yourself. Take care of your spouse. Take care of your spouse first. Take care of yourself. Right? And once you've done that, then we can start thinking about the kids. But until you've taken care of yourself, until taking care of your spouse, what are you thinking? What? You're going to leave you're like, I don't know what you're like, but the chances are you're going to die broke anyway if you don't plan ahead. And we'll be talking about that when we get back. You've been listening to the David Carrier Show. I'm David Carrier, your family's personal. Welcome back to the David Carrier Show. I'm David Carrier, your family's personal attorney. Now's the time to give us a call. 61. Well, forget about it. Well, you got 10 minutes left. What are you going to do? By the time you get your question out, we got to say, see you later. So forget about it. You're just going to get straight up advice. How about that? Yeah. The life plan works out. I mean, our last caller, right? That is what I call blunt force planning. Okay. There's no real thought went into it other than, well, I did something. Yeah, you did something. You disinherited your family. Thanks for nothing. And you thought that you were doing a good thing. I get that. And everybody's telling you to do that. I get that also, right? But here's a question you got to ask yourself. See, like right now, for the last 10 years, because the legislature, Republican, and the governor, Democrat, hate each other, right? Didn't get along, right? Been fighting with each other. Michigan has stayed one of the very few states, 7 states, that does not come after your house when you first go through the Medicaid process. Okay, this is my view of the world. Understand, this is not based on, behind the scenes conversations with anybody. I just try to look at stuff and say, well, what's going on here, right? And I draw my conclusions from that. So you can say, oh, that's just your prejudice.
Or, oh, that's just your fantasizing or whatever. Fine, fine. That's, or this is the one I especially love. Well, that's your opinion. Well, don't you love it when people say that to you? Well, it's your opinion. Well, whose opinion you think I'm supposed to have? Somebody else's? So there's your warning. Okay. I don't know this because I talked to anybody about it. I'm just looking at things. The government never has enough money. The government always wants more money. Who's it going to get the money from? Well, it ain't going to be the rich people, right? They're the ones who contribute to the campaigns. They're too freaking smart. It's not going to be the poor people because they don't have any money. That's why you call them poor, right? And I don't mean poor in spirit. I just mean material goods. They're the noblest people on earth, I'm sure. But if they don't have any money, then the government is going to go after them because they don't have any. They got votes, so they give them some money, right? Get the votes. Oh, that never happens, right? Oh, that's just terribly cynical. Oh, horrible. Anyway, point being, they're coming after you. They're coming after the middle class. Okay. Right now, Michigan is one of 7 states that does not seize your house until after you've died. This is if you received help with long-term care. They don't seize your house till after you've died and it's going through probate. Then they put the claim in. Then they get the proceeds before your kids do. Okay. That's Michigan and a few other states. Texas, North Carolina, Pennsylvania, Florida, a couple other states. Anyway, point being, you think the government likes being tail end Charlie. Wouldn't they rather be Minnesota, Wisconsin, Illinois, Indiana, Ohio, where they slap a Medicaid mortgage on your property, right? As soon as you apply for help with the long-term care, Medicaid, right? When you apply for middle-class Medicaid, I need help with the nursing home because I'm flat busted broke and now I need some help, right? They're going to put a Medicaid mortgage on your house. Michigan doesn't do that. Although in 2012, they tried. The point is that the law is not on the books because they didn't pass it. Okay. But they did all you remember that Schoolhouse Rock, how a bill becomes law, and it goes through the committee process and there's song and dance and all the rest. They did all that. All right. They did all that. That's all been done. It came up for a vote, except it didn't come up for a vote. They yanked it. They never went through with it. Right. And the way they do these things is they wait till the lame duck session, which happens after the election. So I don't know if you've noticed it, but we have an election coming up. After that, people will be term limited out. What does that mean? What it means is they still have legislative power, right? Because they're still in the legislature, but they have no political future because they've been term limited out. Now, maybe they become senator or something like that. But the point is, they're free. They're free. Screw you, voters. I already know if you're elected me, didn't elect me, right? I'm lame ducked anyway. I can't, my political, I can vote for unpopular stuff, for stuff that you would rather not see, including a Medicaid system where they take your house up front. They don't wait till it goes through probate. Okay. Now, maybe they don't do it. I'm not saying that. I don't have a crystal ball. Hell do I know? I'm just looking around saying, okay, we've been through this pandemical stuff, right? That was freaking disaster, right? Money is flowing out of the government quicker than they can control it, right? The federal government has no more money. I don't know if you've noticed, but Mater D chopped up the credit cards almost, right? I mean, with all this trillions and trillions of dollars of goofy ass spending. Okay. All right. So how are we gonna handle this? Well, now the legislature says we need more of your money. How are we going to get more? One of the ways we can do it is by slapping a Medicaid mortgage on your house when you first apply. Understanding that in most states, Indiana, Ohio, Illinois, they're already doing this. They're already doing it. Okay. Not Michigan, not yet. But what do you think is going to happen during the lame duck? Now, maybe they don't pass it. Okay, maybe they don't. What if they do? You see? And these people are lame duck. You can't threaten them. Oh, I'm not going to elect you again. Neener. All right, I'm already term limited out. I don't care. You already kicked me out. Now I can do what I want. That's what you got looking forward to after the election. So keep an eye on this space. We'll keep you informed as far as that goes. But how do you defeat that? How do you make sure that the Medicaid mortgage doesn't affect you? That's the kind of planning we've been doing for 32 years, right? You put the house there's a certain kind of trust that you do. You don't do the joint tenancies. You don't, no, right? There's another way of doing this so that, and the Lady Bird deed, when that happens, Lady Bird deeds will be a thing of the past. In the states where they have this enhanced estate recovery is what they call it. In the states with enhanced estate recovery, there's no Lady Bird deed. It doesn't make any sense. It doesn't matter because there's already a lien on the property. You see, all right. So that's what I'm afraid we have to look forward to. And like anything else, if you plan ahead, things work out better. Things can work out the way you want them to work out, but you do have to take that initiative. First step, come to a life plan workshop. That's what I say. Other people say, write your own deed, go on the interwebs, and I don't know, whatever else it is you want to do. But I think coming life plan workshop is not a bad way to get started. You've been listening to the David Carrier Show. I'm David Carrier, your family's personal attorney.